These frames showed the defense of Pokrovsk and its southern outskirts, where fighters of the 155th Separate Mechanized Brigade are holding back Russian assault units. You're seeing the moment the occupiers, realizing their breakthrough has failed, attempt a chaotic retreat. They abandon positions, equipment, and try to hide in nearby tree lines and buildings, but it's all in vain. Ukrainian soldiers strike with precision and relentlessness. Guided artillery, kamikaze drones, and attack UAVs hit the enemy even as they flee. A wave of fire catches every enemy group trying to slip out of the kill zone. The footage shows how those who were advancing just moments ago now turn into targets, scattering uncontrollably. Explosions tear chunks out of enemy fortifications, equipment burns, and those who attempt to break out blindly fall to accurate strikes. This footage shows the work of the border guard strike unit Phoenix, which is now holding the Pokrovsk axis under truly heavy fire. Despite bad weather, rain, and low visibility, their actions turned this sector of the front into hell for the occupiers. What you're seeing is the moment when Russian forces attempt to regroup, bring in equipment, and fortify their positions, but every movement is under the sights of Ukrainian operators. One precise, powerful strike after another lands on target. The occupiers tried to hide but don't make it in time. Explosions hit trenches, shelters, armored vehicles. In the video, you can see Russian tanks bursting into flames. The fire consumes them within seconds. Those who fail to retreat fast enough are hit by the next strike. Phoenix works quickly and flawlessly. Drones acquire new targets, artillery fire is adjusted, and every shot reaches exactly where it needs to. Meanwhile, in recent days, the enemy launched a massive assault using light vehicles along the Selidove-Pokrovsk highway. The 7th Assault Corps of Ukraine's air assault forces engaged the enemy. Ukrainian units detected the approaching column in time and began systematically destroying it. One explosion after another, what you see on camera are the destroyed motorcycles and vehicles carrying Russian assault groups. In total, 5 motorcycles and 5 enemy vehicles were eliminated. But this was only part of the operation. In several districts of Pokrovsk, Russian forces managed to set up firing positions from which they tried to support their assault actions. Ukrainian paratroopers carried out precise combat work, striking these positions with drones and artillery. Hit after hit, and the enemy's firing points lose control of the area, while every attempt to gain the foothold in the city collapses at the very start. The enemy assault failed, their equipment destroyed, their firing positions suppressed, and Russian troops once again forced to retreat under fire. This is the work of the 425th Separate Assault Regiment, which continues to hold its positions and disrupt enemy attacks in Pokrovsk. What you're seeing is a typical episode of modern urban warfare. Russian assault groups attempt to advance using buildings and destroyed structures as cover, but Ukrainian soldiers keep them under constant fire control. Drones track enemy movement, relay coordinates, and within seconds, Ukrainian forces strike those positions with aerial drops of artillery. Every explosion on screen marks another destroyed position or a group of occupiers trying to gain a foothold inside the city. The regiment works methodically: detected, destroyed, an attempt to push forward, an immediate response. The enemy loses equipment, personnel, and the tempo of its assault. The footage shows how Russian storm units literally get stuck every time they try to enter Pokrovsk streets. And this is the final stage of a battle in which an assault unit is clearing a residential area on the approaches to Pokrovsk. This is the kind of work that rarely appears in official reports, yet without it, not a single block could be held. You're seeing drones tracking the movement of Russian troops who tried to hide between houses and in country yards using civilian infrastructure as cover. But the assault regiment works systematically. Every enemy position, every basement, every gap where Russian infantry might be hiding is brought under control. The footage shows precise strikes on groups attempting to retreat or take shelter. Explosions sweep through yard after yard. The occupiers have no time to regroup or escape. Drones fly low, working with surgical accuracy, and eventually the entire residential sector is fully cleared. On these frames, you're seeing one of the episodes of the exhausting battle for Pokrovsk, the settlement of Zatyshok in the Donetsk region. Under the cover of bad weather, Russian units attempted to quietly amass forces for a further advance. Inside the building, you see on screen personnel from the 1st and 9th Separate Motor Rifle Brigades of Russia's 51st Army were concentrated. These are precisely the targets hunted by Ukraine's Special Operations Forces. Drone operators identify the target, adjust the flight path, and one after another, munitions strike the enemy positions. Each precise hit destroys the enemy's plans to encircle the Pokrovsk-Myrnohrad agglomeration from the north. Where Russian forces expected to calmly build up assault groups, they instead face pinpoint destruction and chaos. Part of the building erupts in flames. Explosions leave the enemy with no chance and no opportunity to withdraw in an organized way. Despite strong winds, rain, and poor visibility, Ukrainian drones confidently reach their targets. What you're seeing now is the work of operators from the 8th Regiment of Ukraine's Special Operations Forces, who carried out a lightning-fast fire raid on enemy positions in the Donetsk region. Using the terrain for cover and taking full advantage of surprise, the Special Forces team approached the Russian fortification undetected. Then, just a few seconds of silence, and suddenly the enemy position comes under precise, devastating fire. Every strike lands exactly where Russian troops were located. As a result of this assault, 3 occupiers were eliminated. The SOF team quickly moves into the cleared position, secures the area, and collects everything of intelligence value: radios, communication devices, and the personal documents of the dead. This is a crucial part of the mission. All recovered materials are immediately passed to intelligence, helping determine the enemy unit's composition, movement routes, rotation schedules, and even the identities of their commanders. A very telling warming session for Russian infantry stranded in the frozen steppes of Donetsk. The occupiers tried to hide in tree lines and dugouts, hoping to survive the frost and wait out Ukrainian reconnaissance. But the pilots of the Chervona Kalina drone brigade provide them with a very different kind of climate control. Drones detect enemy groups, descend from above, and drop munitions directly into their shelters one by one. Every explosion you see is another eliminated group of Russian infantry who hope to sit out the bad weather. Flames, smoke, craters — this is what warming up looks like for those who came to wage war on Ukrainian soil. The occupiers desperately try to flee their trenches, but in the open steppe there's nowhere to hide. The drones of Chervona Kalina keep them under constant, unrelenting aim. Fighters of the BBS unit of the 67th Separate Mechanized Brigade Iron Falcons continue hunting down the occupiers in the area between Ternove and Berezove. What you're seeing is clean, precise, and rhythmically executed work by Ukrainian drones. First, operators detect an enemy group moving through tree lines, hoping to remain unseen. But the Iron Falcons see everything from above. The drone switches to attack mode, and the first munition lands directly on the cluster of Russian infantry. Then comes the second, the third. Explosions hit the occupiers one after another, leaving them no chance to retreat. The footage clearly shows the enemy trying to run between bushes, but the drones follow them to the very end. The elimination continues for several minutes, and every strike hits its target. This is exactly how it happened: fast, harsh, and effective. A raid with prisoners captured has taken place in the Kharkiv region. Here you see fighters from Only Wars of the 3rd Separate Reconnaissance Battalion, one of the most capable units specializing in locating and capturing enemy personnel. In dense thickets, among fallen trees, Ukrainian scouts track down a Russian group. First comes contact. A barrage of fire, short but precise bursts, grenades detonating under the occupiers' feet. Everyone who tried to resist or hide in dugouts and improvised shelters was instantly eliminated. And then the main part. While sweeping the area, the fighters discovered 2 Russians who realized there was no point in fighting anymore. Both dropped their weapons and surrender. A life catch that will strengthen the prisoner exchange pool and provide new intelligence for Ukraine's security services. The entire operation lasts only a few minutes, but the result is striking. The enemy group is completely destroyed, 2 occupiers are taken prisoner, and in the basement of the half-destroyed building, 5 more are found. This video shows the work of UAV operators from the 28th Separate Mechanized Brigade, who are detecting and destroying Russian assault groups trying to slip toward Konstantinivka under the cover of thick fog. The occupiers believed the fog would conceal their movements, but Ukrainian drones see even what the weather tries to hide. The footage shows Russian assault units gathering in tree lines and on the outskirts preparing to push forward. And it is at that moment that our aerial reconnaissance begins its work. Munitions drop one after another directly on the spots where the enemy tries to form assault groups. Explosions scatter the Russians in all directions. Their shelters and dugouts turn into chaos and debris. A significant number of assault troops were buried right on the spot. Those who were lucky enough to survive retreat in panic, abandoning positions, wounded soldiers, and equipment. And here is the intense work of drone pilots from the 3rd Army Corps on the Leman axis. On the front line, they give the occupiers absolutely no chance to stay or dig in. First, the camera captures a Russian tank trying to maneuver between tree lines, but it takes a direct hit. Next, a truck towing a gun. The occupiers try to change position but fail. An explosion destroys both the vehicle and the crew. The following episode features the famous Russian Loaf, their iconic UAZ van. Inside is the infantry that hoped to quietly move closer to the front line. But the drone strikes it directly, and the entire group is blown apart together with the vehicle. And then come the riders, the same Russian troops on motorcycles and quad bikes trying to maneuver quickly near the industrial zone. But speed doesn't save them here. Several precise strikes, and the Kremlin's bikers fall one after another. This is what modern warfare looks like. Whenever Russians think we'll slip through, Ukrainian drones are already waiting, ready to deliver strikes from which there is no escape. On the Dobropila axis, the enemy is trying to break through Ukrainian positions. What you see is the combined work of three forces at once: FPV drone operators of the BBS unit of the 1st Corps of the National Guard's Azov, units of the Unmanned Systems Forces, and the Air Assault Forces. This is coordinated teamwork that closes every escape route for the enemy. The footage shows Russian troops attempting to move between trenches, hiding in tree lines, trying to slip through the defensive lines. But FPV drones literally chase them, follow their every step, and explosions strike anyone who dares to run out of cover. At the same time, mines. They block retreat routes, forcing the enemy to turn back directly into the sights of Ukrainian operators. The attempt to maneuver turns into a deadly trap. The video shows the enemy scattering chaotically, falling, trying to hide, but it's pointless. Drones catch them while they run, while they move, even while they pause. There is not a single moment when the occupier can feel safe. This is professional, cold-blooded, and highly effective work by Ukraine's defense forces. Every meter of the front is under control, and any Russian attempt to break through ends the same way. They are hunted down by drones, mines, and the precision of our soldiers. That's all for now. If you believe the world should know the truth about this war, make sure to subscribe, like and share this video so everyone can see what Ukraine is fighting for. Together we are stronger, together we bring victory closer.